Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are. I welcome back to another Out of Spec podcast. I am joined again by our friend Skyler with Rivian Stories and another Rivian fan. And of course, we're talking more about Rivian today. Um, I guess to title this episode, I'm thinking I'm going to say something like, "Where the heck is the camp kitchen?" Um, this is something that was made big headlines, I think, in 2019 when they first unveiled the concept of it. And then I saw, we've seen the camp kitchen in later iterations and forums, especially at the events Rivian was kind of doing around the country, the first mile events that they had done kind of last year and I think into this year as well. So that's where I first got hands on with it, more or less. They didn't actually let me like cook with it, but they were cooking with it. I had delicious popcorn they made on the camp kitchen. They said the secret ingredient was paprika, for anyone wondering. But yeah, seeing how the camp kitchen worked was pretty cool, and that's been interesting to see. I'll pull up some visuals here for those of you. If you're listening to this, we do have a YouTube stream as well with actual visuals. So here's the camp kitchen on Rivian's website, which now says coming soon. Which actually it may always have said coming soon, but we thought it would be coming sooner than we thought, because yeah, it looks awesome. Like here's a rendering of it, and of course all the details. It's got kind of a cooking stove and I think two burners, induction burners, a sink, a bunch of things with Snow Peak, which is really high quality camping utensils, etc. But yeah, Skylar, what do you think of the camp kitchen, and what's gone on with that?
So it is an absolutely incredible package. I mean, between having the sink with a 4 gallon water tank and a water pump, and then the induction burners with all the pots, pans, utensils. It really is a very, very slick but high end and expensive offering. The other little tidbit that I will give you is when I went up to the factory in Normal, Illinois for the inaugural first mile event that took place there at the factory. The truck that we took on the off-road course had the camp kitchen in it. And even over rough terrain and everything else, it was so solid. You could not tell that it was there. There were no squeaks, rattles, no indication that it was there. So the overall design and packaging and how solid it is was also impressive to me.
That's really impressive because if you can tell from the photos, everything is kind of packed into like cork, which is brilliant. That means all the utensils, all the loose bits and pieces of the kitchen are safely secured against any sort of bouncing or, yeah, whatever vibrations you have on the road, which helps with NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness, as well as protecting the camp kitchen itself. And as you said, it stores in a gear tunnel, which is another one of the coolest pieces of the R1T, and one of those fun, like almost like party tricks, like, oh yeah, look at this gear tunnel, I can fit a snowboard and stuff. And the camp kitchen in this case. So basically how it works is the camp kitchen is an option. I think it was about $5,000 when they unveiled it, the pricing.
Correct.
And I don't remember, is that on top of the gear shuttle? Because there's also a gear shuttle that it sits on, which slides in and out of the gear tunnel. Do you know if that was separate or not?
So it was originally when you got the camp kitchen, you received the gear shuttle with it, all for that $5,000 price. If you were just to opt for the gear shuttle on its own, that standalone price for just the gear shuttle was 1,500. And I know that with the March price increases that affected vehicles and accessories, I think the camp kitchen package went up to 6 grand or 6,500, something like that. And honestly, I don't know what the standalone gear shuttle option went up to or if it even changed. But in the recent announcement about the redesign of the camp kitchen, they also mentioned that the gear shuttle was undergoing a redesign as well. And
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Basically, the Camp Kitchen has been effectively paused production or discontinued temporarily. It's on a hiatus, vacation. I don't know what you want to say, which is also what happened to the powered tonneau cover. Go check out our other episode on that whole debacle. Um, so yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm sad because I think other people are too. Like a lot of people are looking forward to this. It's literally one of the show-stopping components of the R1T. As if it's not cool enough already, the fact that you could opt a camp kitchen in the gear tunnel is one of the coolest things ever. And I was thoroughly impressed with it. It's not just a random thing they threw in there. They designed it, engineered it, and worked with Snow Peak. And I'm not sure who else they worked with, but to ensure high quality components, pieces, hardware. So they announced, and I'll throw up kind of an email people were receiving here on the screen, that they're pausing production because they're working to update its design. So redesigning the camp kitchen. Unlike the powered tonneau cover, we don't really know what's wrong with the camp kitchen. There's no transparency from that front. And obviously, unlike the powered tonneau cover where people have received it and it's having issues, no one's received a camp kitchen. It's always been coming soon. So that's unique. And this redesign also includes updating the gear tunnel shuttle. So I don't know if it's just the camp kitchen that's an issue or if the shuttle is an issue and they're kind of using the camp kitchen as part of that excuse that they have to change the gear tunnel shuttle as well. There's a lot of engineering that goes into these components. They are potentially delicate, and I think, perhaps because of the tonneau cover, they really want to make sure this is done right because they don't want to ship camp kitchens and then go back later and say, sorry, we have to fix this. So is that kind of what you're receiving as far as knowledge on how this is all going down?
yeah, and I actually have a little bit of what I would consider credible rumor insight as it relates to the gear shuttle. And what I was told about the gear shuttle is that it is a very manual and labor intensive install. And that, matter of fact, the body components of the gear tunnel itself does not have pre-matched mounting locations for the gear shuttle, or at least they didn't in the past. And so the gear shuttles would have to come from the factory or be installed at a service center. And I hope that part of this redesign is making it easier for customers to potentially be able to DIY the gear shuttle install on their own. And just on that topic, on the gear shuttle, I think that alone is super cool. And for several reasons. Number one, the amount of weight that it can support as it extends out, but it also has integrated power, and the T slot kind of mounting mechanism that the camp kitchen uses could be useful for all kinds of potential accessories, or even just doing a good job of securing gear or containers or whatever the case may be. I feel like the gear shuttle alone has a ton of potential. So
Yeah, it really does, and it feels like I want them to make sure they get that right because obviously it's useful for the camp kitchen. That's one of the coolest, like I said, show-stopping features. But there's so many other random pieces of use I could think of, whether you're, a electrician or someone with or even a mobile like service person for different vehicles. I mean, you could have all these tools set up in the gear tunnel shuttle, like a putting a workbench or something on it, or storage for various things. Hopefully you'd pack it as well as the camp kitchen packs all the little accessories with the cork or something like that. But it's almost like like one of those Lego plates where it's just like endless opportunities of what you stack on top of it. Of course, how you attach it is important. And I'm sure there's a huge DIY potential and also a huge aftermarket potential with the gear tunnel. So you're right. I'm hoping they are implementing a better way to install it because for all we can tell, it could have been a quote unquote hack job for them to put it on, which is not really a hack job because they're, most likely
Custom install, yeah.
built, yeah, custom. That's a better terminology and probably what they'd use in their marketing speak. But yeah, the custom install makes it a barrier that's probably not ideal for many people. But I can't wait to see, the camp kitchen and the gear shuttle in its final form. It's just who knows when that'll be. Is there a date tied to this at all? Do you know?
I have not seen any dates tied to this at all. The other thing that I saw, and once again, I didn't personally confirm this, but I saw this pop up a year or maybe even longer ago, is that some people tracked down the Dometic cooktop module, and they said that that module had been discontinued. So, I mean,
Oh,
there's a number of things that this could revolve around. They may be looking for a suitable replacement for the induction cooktop, which is obviously a critical component. I mean, there's any number of reasons why they could be undergoing this redesign.
yeah. Again, we are kind of still in sort of COVID times, or at least the aftermath, which involves a lot of part shortages, just challenges with logistics. And so who knows what they're working with, and we don't really know. I know that the truck has, gone up in price since it was initially launched. And that's another factor, I believe, with the camp kitchen is that they mentioned the price would be going up, but they didn't specify to what extent. I don't know if they clarified that on the gear shuttle as well. I think if they are done extremely well, that probably deserves the price more or less, especially if they're using quality components. So they're not just going to shove a random cooktop on there. They want to make sure it's high quality. That's the whole point of, I feel like, the Rivian ethos, if you will. It's they're partnering with quality products, not just some cheap thing they could find somewhere and flip a little bit of a profit on it. So yeah, who knows what we'll see. But just like the tonneau cover, I am following this closely and hoping maybe early next year we'll have more information because a lot more people are receiving their trucks. As cool as the truck is, as it sits, it'd be cooler with certain things in the gear shuttle or gear tunnel.
Yeah, and the gear shuttle, I mean, one of the things that I thought about with the gear tunnel, just from a practical application standpoint, if you fill up the whole thing and you need to get to something that's in the middle, you have to take all the rest of that stuff out. So with the gear shuttle, you can put everything on top, slide it out, and be able to get to stuff in the middle. So I
Exactly.
I I already have a bunch of camping cooking equipment,
Mhm.
and I've said since the beginning I would absolutely get the gear shuttle in the truck, and the camp kitchen is cool, but it would be duplicating stuff that I already have set up in Tupperwares and
Yeah.
already kind of arranged for camping. And I wouldn't personally need the camp kitchen, but I would absolutely get the gear shuttle.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of DIY kitchens we'll see on the gear shuttle because that'd be really fun. Maybe some people putting very specific things on there. Personally for me, I'd probably have a espresso machine and various pour over components. I'd have a full extravagant coffee bar rather
The
than a
camp coffee
standard.
bar, I like
Yep.
it. I like
Yep.
it.
That'd be the plan. And then depending on the crowd, maybe almost like a cocktail station for those types of camping adventures. Is there? Do you think there's any potential with the camp kitchen being somehow implemented, probably in a different design, of course, but with the R1S? Because that's one component you're missing with your R1S, and it's the there's no gear tunnel. Granted, you have way more storage just naturally, but do you know if that's a thought?
So I have heard that it was a thought, and that has come from Rivian. The other interesting thing about the R1S, I think you guys have one on loan right now, but
Yep.
there are the I'm going to call them T slots. There are the slots in the rear of the R1S that have those movable cargo tie downs.
Hmm.
And to me, those feel very, very solid. And if you slide out those cargo tie downs, I think that there are definitely other accessories that could be slid in and properly secured. So
Yeah.
potentially the, R1S version of the gear shuttle that slides out the back, and or yeah,
Yeah.
an R1S design camp kitchen.
Yeah. So for all we know, that could even be part of this. This is obviously a setback. This is a technically negative headline if you had to classify it. But for all we know, they could show up next year with not just, you know, giving us what we wanted in an apology, but like surprising us with something even more extravagant or more almost like building blocks capable. And even like, oh, and by the way, here's the one for the R1S as well. So who
Right.
knows?
And so crazy thought here, right? But I mean, you're working with around the same amount of width, maybe a little bit less in the R1S.
Hmm.
So what if they decided, hey, let's build a camp kitchen that works for both platforms, that
Hmm.
will go in the gear tunnel as well as behind the third row of the R1S? If I was Rivian, that's what I would shoot for from a
Yeah.
design perspective. So something that could be common across both platforms.
Yeah. It's so good. So we'll see. I'm excited to see what happens. This is a brand I've enjoyed following for years. Obviously, you have as well. That's kind of where Rivian Stories came from. So yeah, um, for all of you in the audience, let us know what you're intrigued about with the Camp Kitchen. What would you like to see in a redesign now that it's, we all liked what we saw, but now that they're redesigning it, the sky is endless, opportunities abound. So let us know what you think of the Camp Kitchen and the delay. And, go follow Rivian Stories, of course, for lots of Rivian content, news, ownership updates, etc. I know they have YouTube as well as a website and, of course, all over the forums. So, yeah, but thanks for tuning in with another Rivian topic, and we'll see you guys in another podcast very soon.
Thanks, Jordan.